Welcome to our fire ant control webinar hosted today by Central Life Sciences. Today you will hear from Rodney Morrow, our regional sales manager of specialty products, who will help outline how to identify the red imported fire ant and provide vital information on fire ant control, while also touching on the features and benefits that make Extinguish products such an ideal fire ant control solution to help eliminate the threat of adult fire ants on your operation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rodney to start today's webinar.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks everybody for being here. This is kind of an exciting opportunity for me because I really enjoy talking about fire ants, and I really like spreading the central message. And today I've got some information put together that may be able to help you understand not only about our products, but our approach at managing fire ants. And with that given, I'm going to get right into it. Two of our primary products we're going to be talking today about are Extinguish and Extinguish Plus. And my main goal is to be able to differentiate between the two and show you the various applications and how well this can fit into pretty much any market, especially in the southern states where we are challenged with fire ants. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit, just a blip on who Central Life Sciences really is. And we are a division of Central Lawn and Garden. There are probably some products up here that you would recognize that you may have seen in the stores. You probably have some of these products in your house. We are broke up into a consumer garden division, a consumer pet division, which hits everything from reptiles, dogs, cats, farm and ranch, which is our horses, cattle, goats, sheep, llama, all the way to wild birds and more. We also have our professional division, our Zoecon division, that also addresses the professional applicator market and the professional pesticide companies in the industry as well. We have over 65 brands. So there are likely one or more of these products, like I said, in y'all's house. You probably recognize maybe some of the Farnham logos for the horse people out there, horse health products, all the way to stored grain products with Diacon. Amdro is a very, very popular name in the industry as well. Nylabone when it comes to pets, Starbar Farm and Ranch products, and more. So I just wanted to throw that out there to show you guys that we are committed to agriculture and the animal industry in every way that we possibly can, all the way down to reptiles. We got reptile brands, fish brands, and we even have our Essentria product lines that are more of our green products, if you will. Today, we're going to talk about the red imported fire ant and ways to understand how our products can help minimize the impact of these ants on your operation, in your family yard, and all the rest of the places, and leave as small of an environmental footprint as possible. And hopefully that will make a lot of sense by the time we get through some of the details here. Quick identification, they make their nests above the ground. You can see them anywhere from 1 to 2 feet in diameter, 4 to 6 feet inches high. What they're doing with these mounds is they're really bringing their brood up into that mound to warm them during the day and warm the eggs and warm the larvae, and then they move them back down at night. So just because you come across a fire ant bed and you knock it down or you hit it with something and you don't see eggs or larvae, it doesn't mean that it's not an active mound. You'll likely see ants, but they're doing different things at different times of the day. And that is important to understand when you're putting down baits and other treatments, because you need to make sure you're going to have the greatest chance of those products actually impacting the ant and doing what it's supposed to do. They live through underground tunnels. They have multiple queens. Used to be said that fire ant mounds had one queen. Not so much today anymore. Multiple queens with up to 400,000 female workers. They're omnivorous. They're protein feeders and sugar feeders. They're active in the early mornings and the late evenings, and really we kind of avoid messing with them during the heat of the day when the sun's high. That's because, like I said, they're managing their brood and they're doing other things, collecting resources. But early mornings and early evenings when it's still a little bit cool. That's when we try to go after putting down our ant application products. And of course, they bite if they're disturbed. They spread very easily. You know, we're never going to get 100% of anything. We're going to try to. We're going to shoot it. That's a good goal to have. But these guys here, you know, they can travel on floating waters. They travel in crops and sod and containers and nursery stock. So just because you've treated an area, if that area has a lot of traffic and a lot of semis, a lot of machinery and a lot of hay coming and going, there's always an opportunity for that challenge to increase just by new ants being brought into the area. Here's a female or a queen ant being tended to by her worker ants. You can see the size difference between them. She's quite larger. The workers get the short stick when it comes to the circle of life. They live for about 30 to 60 days. The queens, however, can live 2 to 6 years. And the life cycle from egg to adult is, you know, around that 25, 30-day range, as you can see here. We see the greatest challenge where the red dots are in our southern part of the United States. These fire ants weren't native to America. We refer to them as REFA, the red imported fire ant. And basically they came here on a boat into New Orleans or somewhere down there in that region, and they spread left and right towards Florida and towards Texas, and they continue to move. One thing I want to point out here is in North Carolina, the remaining 8 counties of North Carolina have been included in the National Fire Ant Quarantine Zone. So there have been fire ants identified in every county in North Carolina. And to me, that's hard to believe because there's some pretty high areas over there. But they can move. They move in pallets of sod, equipment, and other things. They like moderate climate, adequate moisture, food, and water. Of course, they move on water. When it rains a lot, they form a big ball and they float down the ditches and they can travel for a long ways, you know. So our central solution to what we're going to get into is basically you can find our information on centralantcontrol.com. Okay, if you miss anything that I'm going to point out in this presentation, please visit that website or call me or one of my colleagues, which you'll see the numbers at the end of the presentation as well. But at that website, you can see SDS sheets, labels, other facts and resources, ant identification charts, where you can buy Extinguish and Extinguish Plus, and more information on the National Quarantine information list.
And as Rodney continues with the presentation, as we jump into Extinguish here, just a quick note, if you have any questions, please put them down in the Q&A, and we will address those in the Q&A section within the last 10 minutes of the presentation. So back to you, Rodney.
Thank you, Chris. Great note. Yes. So I look forward to your questions at the end of the presentation, and I'll try my do my best to give us plenty of time to answer some of those questions. So let's get into Extinguish Professional. This product is only available in the 25-pound bag. And the biggest hit here is that it is labeled for all crops, all everything, any foliage, nurseries, backyard gardens, and you're going to see that anywhere that ants can crawl, you can put this product. And I'm going to show you why as well. But primarily, we're going after the big-headed ant, the harvester ant, and the red imported fire ants. And some people say, well, why not all ants? Well, we have native ants, and we really don't want to get rid of all the ants. Just because they're an ant doesn't mean they're bad. The ants that are invasive and that came here from other countries and that are diminishing our native ant populations are the ones that we want to get after, as well as the ones that are damaging crops and or stinging our kids. So the big deal about Extinguish Professional is that it has S-methoprene. Okay, S-methoprene is an insect growth regulator. And for those of you that don't know what insect growth regulators are, I will do a little stint on what they are and how they work. But basically, they sterilize the queen. They disrupt normal growth and development. They eliminate the colony completely. They don't allow for colony relocation or colony rebound. And that takes usually 2 to 3 weeks before you see colony reduction. You'll see colony collapse in, I say, 6 to 8 weeks. So what is an IGR? And it's not a real complicated subject. Oh, sorry. But insect growth regulators disrupt the developmental process. So you know that they go from an egg to a larvae to a pupae to an adult, and we get involved in that process. And I'm going to show you how. We influence a wide range of physiological processes, everything from metamorphosis, embryogenesis, and diapause. They are specific to the insects that we've built them for. So we're not going to put an insect growth regulator out there and it affect every insect in the industry. No, they're specific to the insects they're formulated for. And I'll show you why. It's because of this juvenile hormone. Okay. So here's an insect. Here's the juvenile hormone of our fire ant. And what we've done is we've created S-methoprene. I didn't put the S on there, but methoprene, which is a juvenile hormone analog. Basically, it looks just like the regular one with a couple of exceptions. And when this hormone is high, when this juvenile hormone is high, then the insect is developing in that metamorphic stage. As they use up this hormone and it becomes low, then they move to the next developmental stage. So when we lay F-methoprene in there, what we're doing is we're tricking the insect into thinking that hormone is always present. There are other insect growth regulators out there. Here's one called hydroprene. You can see that this one follows the same pattern. Looks a lot like the methoprene did. So a little history on insect growth regulators. And I'm not going to get real deep on these. I just want y'all to understand why they are having such a impact on the performance of our product. But in 1972, methoprene became the first commercial insect growth regulator. Today, S-methoprene remains one of the best and most widely used IGRs in the industry. There's other types of IGRs, which are methoprene, kynoprene, hydroprene, but Central Life Sciences has been center to the development of these throughout history. In 1972, Zoecon, which is a division of Central Life Sciences, patented the first juvenile growth analog. This became known as methoprene. Okay, at that time, they called it an insect growth disruptor, but same thing. 1975, the feed-through application for horn flies was approved by FDA for methoprene, meaning we're feeding it into cattle mineral. It goes through the cow, it comes out in the manure and helps stop horn flies from developing. So I'm trying to just impress upon you that these have been used for many, many years, and Central Life Sciences is single-handedly responsible for a lot of the development and use of these products. You probably see some of these products in your house. You've got dog and cat pet sprays, spot-ons for flea control that you'll see that have IGR in them. You'll see livestock blood feeding flies. Some of their livestock feeds have S-methoprene and other types of IGRs in them. Mosquito control through water treatment, fogs and sprays. You may see the machine running down your street spraying fog into the air, and also we use it into human drinking water, animal drinking water, and more. Cockroaches and a lot of your baits and sprays that the professionals use are IGR based. So an IGR works by, like I said, disrupting the developmental cycle. And if you go in here and you look at the ant's life cycle, they go from adult to egg to larvae to pupae. And the treated insect is incapable in advancing in the life cycle and development. So basically, this adult's going to lay the egg is going to go to the larvae is going to go to the pupa. Well, in this egg phase, when the juvenile hormone is high, when the juvenile hormone is high, they're not developing to the next phase. But once the juvenile hormone gets low and they've used up that juvenile hormone, they go to the next phase. And now they're in the larval phase. Once they've used up the juvenile hormone, they go to the next phase. And the same happens again until they hatch out as an adult, a worker, a male, or a queen. Now, by introducing an IGR, methoprene in this case, this egg that is trying to use up that juvenile hormone never gets it all used up, because ours is there mimicking it. It's a juvenile growth analog. It looks just like it. It thinks it's always present. The hormone is always present, so they never go to the next phase. And the same for the larvae. If they're exposed to the IGR, they stay in that phase. They never burn up that hormone. And with the pupa, they get exposed to it. They stay in that phase and they never hatch out as one of these adults. So therefore, we stop them there, stop them here, and we stop them there. So if we don't have this reproductive population coming back, we don't have these guys. Now, an IGR in itself may not be able to kill the queen, but what it will do is impact the formation of her ovaries, and she'll have malformed ovaries, therefore not even put off fertile offspring. But the IGR is working in a way that is tricking the system into stopping where it's at. Unlike a pesticide that you would see somebody sell you for ants and you put out, and it's just going to kill the ants that come in contact with it. It's only going to kill those guys, and they may carry it down the mound, and it may kill some of the ants. But this is absolutely disrupting the whole process and collapsing that colony from the inside out. Therefore, we don't have a product that we're putting down and it kills a few ants and the colony moves down the way. We're not going to get colony relocation and colony rebound with this type of application. So, being that it's not a pesticide of that type, it is approved for all crops: fruits, nuts, ornamental, citrus, olives, pecans, peaches, you name it. Backyard gardens, whether you've got tomatoes, potatoes, corn, whatever you've got, Extinguish Professional can go on it. Okay. And we do like to mix it in dry fertilizers and broadcast it. That's pretty much the best way to do it. We've got hand broadcasters and some that go behind the machines. I'll show you a couple of those, some that go on four-wheelers. But I'm going to go one step further with this and show you why we put this on all crops. And this is an LD50 chart. It's a comparative acute oral toxicities. Basically, it's taken the dosage of a radiation or a toxin or a poison or something and saying, okay, if this amount of a certain amount is consumed, how much would have to be consumed for half of the population to die? Sounds confusing, but I'm going to break it down. Down here, if you can see my cursor, it says oral LD50. That's a lethal dose 50. What is the lethal dose that will kill half of the people that take it? And then notice it's in milligrams per kilogram. So let's use another example, break it down further. Let's just do caffeine. We all know what caffeine is. Or salicylic acid. You know, we got aspirins. Sodium chloride, that's a good one. Let's do 3,000 milligrams per kilogram. It's not milligrams, it's milligrams per kilogram. So if 100 people were to take this dosage, 3,000 milligrams per kilogram, half of them would die. They would get toxic and die. It's a lethal dose 50. We got caffeine, 355 milligrams per kilogram for half of the population to die. Salicylic acid, 1,600. Sodium chloride, sucrose, one of our sugars out there, 29,700 milligrams per kilogram, and half of the people that took it will die. And then we get to methoprene, 34,600 milligrams per kilogram. That is absolutely off the charts compared to something as basic as caffeine or salicylic acid or sodium chloride. This is absolutely out there. So this type of information is what brought methoprene into the industry to be used in so many ways. So you ask, why would we even want to make another product? Because we do have another product called Extinguish Plus. So if Extinguish Professional can go on everything, why would you want to Extinguish Plus? I'm going to tell you. One, it comes in 1.5 pound, 4.5 pound, and the 25 pound. The Extinguish Professional was only in 25 pound. Check my time. Okay. And basically the Extinguish Plus has the same S-methoprene, same insect growth regulator that we saw in the Professional. And that is going to go into the mound. It's going to affect the developmental processes of the brood. It's going to sterilize the queen. It's going to contribute to the collapse of that colony in a huge way. It's definitely going to stop the replacement population that's inside that colony. So that's going to do its job. But then we added hydromethylanon. Okay, this is an adulticide. This is more of what people think of when they think of fire ant baits, because they think of other types of pesticides or poisons or things that are going to kill the ants. We had to put an adulticide in here. And what this is doing is this is actually exposing the worker ant as they carry the bait back to the mound. And it's doing it in a way that hydromethylanon is very slow acting. So we don't want them to pick it up and die out in the field, as with most products. We want them to have time to carry it back, get it to the mound, get it down the mound, and feed it to the queen and the brood, and expose everybody to the methoprene. So the worker ant will then get exposure carrying it back, and he's going to die off. And then the S-methoprene can do its work on the colony. So this product will actually speed up the rate at which you're going to see the ants disappear, because you do have an adulticide eliminating those surface ants that came in contact with it. But it's still going to sterilize the queen, disrupt the normal growth and development of the brood, and the adulticide is going to kill the workers. So effectively, we're eliminating a colony where there is no rebound and no relocation. Okay. And that is very important. We don't want to just put a poison down, or better yet, we don't want to put something down on the soil that we're going to claim is active for a whole year. How healthy is that for our environment? No, we don't want something that's going to leach into our ponds or going to affect the soil microbes or affect the grass that the cows are eating or the kids are playing on. We're doing this in a very, very, with a very small footprint, if you will. It is labeled to control the red imported fire ant, the native fire ants, the harvester ants, big-headed ants, and Argentine ants. So it's going to clear up a field for you. No withdrawals for livestock. We got horses out, cattle out. You can use it anywhere. There's non-fruit bearing trees. Again, this one, because of the hydromethylanon, we don't put this out on fruits. And the Extinguish Professional is what we would use in that case. But if we need something that's going to speed up our performance, this is the better way to go. Destroy visible and hidden colonies. A lot of times you don't even see all the colonies. You may look out into a field and see 5 ant beds and go, there's no problem. But in reality, there may be 100 out there because you're not seeing what's below the surface or the small colonies. Starts killing immediately after ingested. So now colony reduction is reduced down to 1 to 2 weeks. Colony collapse or destruction, 3 to 6 weeks. We sped it up by a couple weeks. Used for indoor and outdoor use. And these products, both products, are on the national quarantine list for people that are shipping container stock. Treatment areas, school grounds, pasture rangeland, poultry houses, around poultry houses, campgrounds, cemeteries, corrals, golf courses. I know golf courses like to have a lot, they have liquids they get a lot of residuals out of and things like that, but there's no reason that every gator tractor on a golf course should not have a 1.5 or 4.5 pound container of Extinguish Plus on there. You don't even have to hit the mound. Just drive by and throw a handful at it. 1.5 pounds does an entire acre. So here is, you notice there's no fruit on this slide, no grapes, pecans, foliage, grazing animals. You've got different sizes of it now, 1.5, 4.5, and the 25 pound. And I've got this on here because our guys in Texas and Georgia, they're treating a lot of hunting preserves. A lot of plantations are using our product by aerial application because we have documented research showing from a very big study done in Texas, conducted in Texas, showing that when we treated hunting preserve acreage, we increased the amount of invertebrate population, and we had a big enough statistical impact on it. And if you increase the amount of invertebrates, which are what your birds are feeding on, if you got quail and prairie chickens and other things, any ground burrowing animals also are going to be impacted by fewer fire ants. There is a distinct benefit to treating for fire ants on hunting land, and increasing the amount of invertebrates is bringing more birds, more animals around. Mix it with dry fertilizers and broadcast it out. The Extinguish Professional or Extinguish Plus here is labeled at 1.5 pounds per acre. Extinguish Professional is right at 1 pound per acre, but we can talk about that. Applications, we're one of the only ones with an aerial application. And the reason for that is we are not as concerned about drift, it getting into other acreages or other areas it's not supposed to get on, or drifting over water. We have one of the only product, I think the only product that you can put right up to the water's edge of a pond. Most any other products needs to be 20, 30, 40 feet away because they don't want it leaching into the pond. Our product is terminal. Once it's down, it's going to get picked up by these ants, taken back and do its thing. And it's not going to be sitting there with a residual working for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. We're eliminating the colony, but we're not doing it by leaving a poison behind to get into your environment. Treat the complete acre for best results. Spread with handheld spreader, backpacks, motorized equipment, and aircraft. We got herd spreaders that we promote for Casco, one of the big companies out there. They've got one that mounts on the back of an ATV. They got one that mounts on the back of a tractor, one that goes on a truck ball mount. We're putting it into dry fertilizers in Florida, Texas, Georgia. This is a big part of the process as well, especially in citrus. Drone applications are being tested and researched. They're doing drone applications out in California with some of the pecan farms out there under cloth. So we know that there's more applications to come, and that's something we're still looking at. So here's just some tips and tricks to understand. One, you want to make sure that these ants are actively foraging. Don't go out and just throw out fire ant bait, especially something you spent a couple $100 on the bag. Okay, and like I said, ants are active in the morning and they're active in the afternoon when it's not high heat, the sun's not high in the sky. In the early morning, you do need to make sure that the soil temperatures have been at 60 or above for at least 5 to 7 days. More importantly, you need to make sure that the morning dew has lifted. Let the ground dry, let the sun come out and lift that moisture, because this product is about the consistency of panko or a breadcrumb, and it needs to be appealing for the fire ant to want to carry it back. So you need that morning dew to have lifted. You need to make sure it's not the heat of the day when they're managing their brood and collecting other resources, and need to try to maybe do a chip test. We try to encourage people to do a chip test or throw some bait down and see if it starts moving. The chip test, the best one that we've found is the corn chip. It's based with corn, and our product is more of a corn-based type of product. So if they're going to pick up a corn chip or a Frito, then they're going to pick up our bait. And you'll know in no time at all. Sprinkle it down, watch, check it in a half hour, see if you start seeing it move around. Like I said, soil temperatures need to be 60 or above, early morning, late afternoon. Do not apply within 6 hours of a rain event. That is very important as well. Just like the morning dew lifting. You don't want it rained on, because you're going to have to put it back down. And yeah, you don't want to irrigate on it, of course, for 24 hours. So in a nutshell, as I get ready to wrap this up a little bit, where can we use Extinguish Plus? This looks like a very busy slide, but bear with me because this is good information. Inside and outside. Okay. Nursery stock and container stock. Like I said, we are on the national quarantine approved list for shipping container stock across the state. Blend with dry fertilizers and seed. One of the easiest ways to do it. Hay and pasture. No restrictions for grazing cattle. Turf, ornamental landscapes, sod farms, hunting plantations. Please keep that in mind. This is a huge market for growth. If you're going to be selling this product, you want to make money on it, get on the bandwagon while we're starting to punch this button, because this is going to be a big area of growth in 2024. Residential and commercial, both. I mean, school grounds, sports fields, we got something you can put out and you don't got to worry about Fluffy running across or your kids running across it from the street running in the house. Okay. Nursery, ornamental nursery, non-bearing fruit stock. We're talking about the Extinguish Plus, non-bearing fruit stock. It's got the hydromethanol in it. But if you're going to do fruits, you're going to go to Extinguish Professional. The cost difference between the two is negligible per acre. It's, you just find a place to buy it and look at the cost, and you make your good decisions. One of a kind dual action killing power, broadcast application available of all types, smart IGR technology with an adulticide. It's the only one in the industry that functions like this. No colony relocation, destroys the colony from the inside out. We're not just putting down something on the top to kill the ants that are walking on it or picking it up right there. We're killing the whole colony. Apply up to a water's edge, no aquatic setback. That's pretty impressive. No restrictions on pasture and rangeland, national quarantine product approved list we talked about. Smallest environmental footprint. I think that is very, very important. It's becoming more relevant today than ever. And here's my favorite, best cost per acre that you're going to find anywhere in the industry. So, times are tight. Production is getting expensive. Fertilizer is getting expensive. Employment, having employees out there are sometimes tough to find. Being able to have something you can put into a fertilizer and eliminate a step, something that you can put into an aerial application, cover a huge area with lower cost, and something that will prevent them from coming back unless they're brought back. Do remember, we're never going to get 100%, but we can certainly give you the best chance right here. It's a ready to use blend. All these are ready to use, and or you blend it with dry fertilizer or seed. I've seen people even blend it with sand. So in this region, you've got me, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, through Virginia. We've got Sid Chambers. He's all through Texas, Oklahoma, and Mexico. And Randy Willis in Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee. And contact any of us for collateral materials, samples, ride-alongs. We'll do on-farm evaluations. You just tell us where to go, and if it's within reach, we'll go there on your behalf just to do some looking, or have your customers call us and let us drive the opportunity for you. And myself, with this product, I've been selling this product for 15 years in one form or another. And I'm very, very familiar with it. I do respect it. And I wouldn't be here trying to tell you all this good stuff if I didn't truly believe that it works as well. So with that given, I'm going to open it up to any questions y'all may have, because it looks like we're about on track.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rodney. That was very insightful. And appreciate all the information. We do have some questions coming in, and please keep them coming. We'll kind of address them one by one. So Rodney, we do have some that are in. One of the first ones is, when you're looking to protect young citrus trees, which of the products is best used in this case?
Oh, super good question. The young citrus trees and non-fruit bearing trees is where we use a lot of the Extinguish Plus. You can use it a couple of different ways. You can use it as a barrier treatment around the fields and on the fields, as long as there's not fruit. That is the preferred method to really put the best pressure on the fire ants. As they begin to bloom and move to the next phase, that's when you would go to the Extinguish Professional. And there is opportunity for both products for sure.
Awesome. Next question is, can I treat the fire ant mounds themselves?
I try to tell people not to, but that's a really good question, because it is on the label. You can treat each mound with a tablespoon of product, but I really have discouraged that my entire life pretty much. If we mess with a mound, then you're going to put those ants into what we call a fight or flight response. Same as walking into a field full of cows. All their ears go up and their eyes open up. all of a sudden they're not doing what they're not ruminating and chewing their cud. They're looking at you. And that has an impact on them. Same with the fire ants. If we go disturbing the mound in any ways or throwing a stick on the mound itself, they will come out and remove that stick. They maintain those mounds with extreme detail. So for that reason, we encourage you to put a little bit around the outside of the mound, but the application is 1.5 pounds per acre, which goes a long ways with that little jug. So try not to disturb the mound if you want them to actually pick it up and take it back. If you throw it on the mound or disrupt it, they may pick it up and move it away from the mound just because of the way they act.
Next question is, I'm seeing a little rebound this year on new customer properties that are highly infested. Any insights or suggestions?
Hopefully they were using they use Extinguish Plus that does have the hydromethanol in it to help get a little better knockdown on that big challenge. But rebound is kind of expected if they've got people upstream from them and there's a lot of rain. I don't know what kind of area you're referring to, but they do travel down the ditches on water. Or if you have somebody next door sharing mowing equipment and doing things like that, they will come back. But we also have we hear the opposite. We have people that use it for 3 or 4 years in a row at the same time of the year that end up trying to tell us they get residual, and now they think they can skip a year or back off. And what's ultimately happening with them is they're getting such good performance and uptake from the product that it's looking like there's a residual, but they're decreasing their challenge. Sometimes when we get a lot of rebound, like what you're saying, we might not have got the exact uptake we wanted. And I'll tell you, last November, September, October, November, we got a lot of rain. We had a real wet season the year before even. So 2022 and 2021 falls were wet, and that made it tricky. And we had a lot of people coming back saying, hey, I don't think I got good uptake. So that might have been the case if the ground was wet or it got rained on. So be extra mindful of when you're putting it down, what the conditions are. Don't wait until it's too cool, because when the cool seasons start coming and going, and those weeks where we get cold weather one week and sunny weather the next, that just confuses the ants. And a lot of times they go down and stay down. And even if you put product down, you don't get good uptake of it. So there's variables like that. And man, oh man, if you're in my region or Sid's region or Randy's region, call us and let us walk you through some of that, because there is always opportunity for error. And Mother Nature is pretty unforgiving sometimes.
Awesome. Questions about, is this safe around chickens and bees, the Extinguish products?
Well, that's a good question. The chickens, we don't like to put it in the chicken cages. We don't like them to, or we like to actually keep them away from it. We don't have any documentation showing that it will harm them, but we also don't want them picking it up if we've got the Extinguish Plus down there with the hydromethanol in it. That is a form of pesticide or insecticide, and that will be something we'd rather our chickens not eat or get into our meat. But putting it around the chicken cages and holding them penned up for 24 hours would be my suggestion. One, because overnight, when that morning dew comes out and impacts that bait, it's going to be terminal after a certain period of time there. So 24 to 48 hours, if you can keep them away from it, we'd prefer. What was the other question? Children?
Chicken and bees, and then
bees.
Yeah, bees.
Yeah, I can't really personally speak to the bees. I mean, bees that we haven't had, I haven't seen or read any research directly related to that, and I haven't talked to my entomology team about bees. I could gladly, email me that if you would, and I'll see if there's any facts. But all I could do is say I would steer clear of the beehives. There are ant problems in beehives, and there are products, and we've got some products out there that we know are effective for fire ants around beehives. We know the dried residue is not harmful to honeybees, but that's not my wheelhouse. But I will gladly stir it up for you if you shoot me an email, and let's chat on the side. We'll figure it out.
Great. So another question that came in was, you talked about the best time to apply is when ants are foraging, and you mentioned the potato chip test. Can you elaborate on the potato chip test?
Yeah, just simply go out around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. If you see that the ground's dry, and if you've seen some ants active around and you think you know where they're at, grind you up some Fritos and just crumble them on the ground. You can use any chip for the most part, but grind them up or get some of the bait and just sprinkle on the ground and check it about every 15 minutes for an hour. See if you see those bait particles moving. And I'll tell you, you will see them moving if they're eating, because my son and we spent an hour or more walking around the house seeing how far they would carry this bait. And it is really something to see all those little bait pieces moving. So that's all we're doing, is kind of sampling it out to watch them pick it up. And if they're picking it up and carrying it, spread your bait.
Awesome. Got a question here. Where is the best place to buy Extinguish products?
There's various places. We sell a lot to distributors. In my region, we sell to a lot of distributors that blend fertilizer, things like that. In other parts of the industry, you can get them to your farm stores, your feed stores, anywhere you buy hay. A lot of times they'll have the retail sizes, the 1.5 and 4.5 pound sizes. You won't find this in Walmart or Home Depot, but we have a listing of our distributors on our website at that Central Ant Control. You can kind of get guided in the right direction there on where to go. And it varies by state. That's why I'm not going to just start throwing out names, but yeah, that's kind of the basis of it.
Okay. And you mentioned the various application equipment. I know you had mentioned the herd spreader and different aspects like that, or a hand spreader. Is there any specific equipment that works best with Extinguish Plus and or Extinguish that you would recommend, or do they all kind of work the same way?
Well, they don't work they mark the same way in just the mechanics of them. But one thing to keep in mind is the rate that it's getting dispersed out. We tell people, if they're using a hand spreader, like the Scott's hand spreader, typically you put a 1/8 inch drill bit is the size that we put in the window, whatever that window is that allows the bait to come out. If you put an 1/8 inch drill bit in there, that typically is about the right gap size to put it to that 1.5 pound an acre. But our preferred method would be to get a herd spreader, HERD, herd spreader. You can find them online, and the company called Casco manufactures them. The herd spreaders have a fire ant plate, little yellow plate that goes in the bottom of them that will dispense it at 1.5 pounds an acre. And those herd spreaders can mount on the back of an ATV or on the back of a ball mount on a truck or onto a tractor. And there's not a lot of wires to them. They're aluminum cans. There's a 25 and a 50 pound can, and they'll run you delivered to your house, I believe, anywhere in that $600, $700, $800 range, depending on what size you're buying and where you live. And that is my preferred method for down here.
Great. And thank you so much for all the questions that are coming in. These are, I think, great for the attendees to learn a little bit more about the solutions that we offer in terms of fire ant control. Another question that has come in is, do the number of ants in terms of increasing populations affect the amount of product used per acre, Rodney?
I guess you're referring to challenge. So if there's a greater challenge per acre, do you use more product? No, you really don't. A pound of the Extinguish Professional, a pound per acre on that is going to be enough product for those ants to get exposed to. Remember, with the IGR, they don't have to consume it. They just have to come in contact with it. So once those ants pick it up and carry it to the mound, it's beginning to do its job. These ants are everywhere. Each year, you may find in subsequent years, as you get your challenge pushed down, you may be able to get by with less of it, but I would definitely say that more is not going to get you any better performance.
Great. Another question here. Is there any resistance to hydromethylanon in the field?
Well, the hydromethylanon, I would say, they're that is a class of type of product that over time could build some resistance. The IGR, absolutely not. We don't have any documented resistance for insect growth regulators. They're not working in the same process, the same mode of action that an insecticide is. So in theory, yes, you could have insecticide resistance to the hydromethylenone, but if that were to be the case, you would have to use that product consistently and almost in an overused fashion, because you would have to expose the ants to it and then have a generation that survived and then became to develop another generation. So that's not likely to happen with this product and its hydromethylenone, because you're stopping the generations from repopulating. So the opportunity for that is probably there, but the likeliness is very, very not.
Okay.
That's more of an entomology question, but
Yeah.
I think one would probably agree with me putting it out there that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, they keep coming. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. If the ants eat the bait for a while in the colony, how does it affect the eggs hatched once the workers die off?
If they eat the bait and they pick the bait up and they bring it back, the eggs are not any of the eggs that are just exposed to it. The eggs obviously aren't eating it, but the eggs that are exposed to the IGR are put in the presence of that juvenile hormone. And that juvenile hormone right here, those eggs have this hormone in them. It looks like this structure. Okay. So as long as this hormone is present, those eggs will not hatch. When this hormone gets low and those eggs have used it up is when they go to the next level. Well, we're putting this methoprene there that mimics that natural hormone. So they will never hatch. So even though the ants that ate it and the worker ants are dying off, the eggs will stay in the state that they're in, and the larvae will stay in the state that they're in. And same with the pupae. They will stay right where they're at.
Awesome. Thanks, Rodney. Another question here. When you say no grazing restrictions, as the label tends to say, there's no restrictions on grazing companion animals. Is dairy and beef stock okay?
Absolutely. There are no concerns between your dairy, beef, cattle, goats, llama, any of that for the grazing restrictions. What we do not want to see is we don't want to see anybody put it down on a field and bale that hay within 72 hours to feed back. Okay, we don't, that would allow for any opportunity for concentration of product, I guess, but they don't want you to bale that hay within 72 hours to feed back for consumption. But grazing cattle and grazing horses out there, and llamas, dairy cow, meat cow, does not matter. No.
Great. Does the size of the baits have anything to do with the ants actually physically picking up the baits?
I would ants carry, I guess they say what 200 times their weight, which in this case, this bait is like a breadcrumb. It is very thin, very light. And the size of it, I wouldn't say so much. No, I think, if there were some, the size would be more relevant when it came to blending challenges. I think blending with fertilizers and blending with other seeds, but no, not when it comes to the ant picking it up. No.
Great. So in terms of the offer to kind of come out and do a consultation, Rodney, what's the best way to kind of get in touch with you to help set those up, or the balance of your team?
Here, there's the numbers here, but if you go on to Central Ant Control, you would also get referred to one of us in whatever region you were looking for. And if you're in one of these regions in, say, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and you would like somebody to ride with you or to go on farm or to visit a farm on your behalf, we're here to do that. And just shoot us an email or call me. That's my cell number. And I'll either guide you to somebody or I'll do it myself.
Great. And then we have just one last question here, Rodney. What's a bicolor pyramid, ant protein or sugar?
I don't know what you're looking for. I'll just reference that there is there's an ant out there that we've been working with that we want to get more uptake of our product with, and that's the Argentine ant.
Yeah.
And the Argentine ant is more of a sugar feeder than a protein feeder. And out in California, we've got extension agents recommending that they are blending powdered sugar with our fire ant bait to get uptake by the Argentine ants. And it's not necessarily an off label, it's just something they're doing out there. And we may be doing some more work with that, but I don't know if that's what the person was referring to, but that's really.
Yeah, it might be like the bicolored pyramid ant. Is it a protein or a sugar feeder? And I think it might be a sugar feeder, it looks like, based on the, yeah.
Possibly, but that would be that'd be an entomology question. That's, yeah, I can gladly look that up and find out, but I don't know.
Yeah, great. I think that looks like it's all the questions. I think that's going to do it today for our webinar. We want to thank our host, Rodney Morrow from Central Life Sciences. Again, his contact information was provided in terms of his cell phone and email. If you have any questions, Rodney's main thing is he's available day or night, and he'll even answer on a holiday, I believe. Rodney, yeah, that's your MO.
Yeah, if you're working, I'm working. So I don't care if it's a weekend or late afternoon. If you need something, you need an input, or you bought product and need help using it, you give me a call. And keep that in mind. You know, a lot of people do crazy things to try and treat fire ants. I've seen them put cornmeal down and baking soda and starch. I've seen them put propane down in the ground. I've seen them put gas on it and hot water on it. But none of that's going to get rid of them like what we're telling you here. So if we can help you be successful with it, please call.
Awesome. Well, Rodney, thank you so much. And from a participant's perspective, thank you so much for all the engaging questions and for joining us today. Be on the lookout as more Central Life Sciences webinars will be scheduled in the next coming months. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks. See you guys.